On the day of my son's wedding, I realized that 30 years of my life had dissolved like sugar in hot tea. At the moment I heard his words and the guests' laughter, something inside me died forever. But my hands didn't tremble as I quietly stood up and left the restaurant. However, the next morning, his hands were shaking as he read my letter. Not a will, no. Something even more important. It all started with an invitation, a regular glossy card with gold embossing, which I found in my mailbox in mid-April. Spring had been cold, with morning frosts that killed the tulips in the flower bed by the entrance, planted by our building manager, Mary Johnson. I was coming back from work, tired from the noise of children's voices. More than 30 years as an elementary school teacher had taught me patience, but not how to avoid headaches by the end of the day. My bag was pulling at my shoulder, 40 notebooks to grade, textbooks, a folder with lesson plans. The lobby smelled of fresh paint. They'd recently started cosmetic repairs, the first in 15 years. The mailbox was stuffed with advertising flyers and utility bills. Among them was a white envelope of thick paper with a golden border. Probably another notice from the bank about an interest rate hike on a loan, I thought, climbing to my 4th floor without an elevator. At home, after putting on the kettle and changing into home clothes, a stretched sweater and soft pants, I opened the envelope. Michael and Christine invite you to their solemn wedding ceremony. I read it twice, slowly tracing my finger over the raised letters. On the third time, it sank in. My only son was getting married, and I was learning about it from a printed card. No call, no visit, not even a message, just a piece of paper, as if I were a distant relative, not his mother. For the first 5 minutes, a strange numbness overcame me, as if I'd read news about a stranger. The kettle in the kitchen boiled and clicked off automatically. It was the only modern thing in my house, a gift from colleagues for my 50th birthday. I brewed tea in an old porcelain teapot with a chipped spout. A memento from my mum, who died 10 years ago from cancer. "Take care of it, Sue. It's fine china. They don't make them like this anymore," she said before passing, handing me the set. I placed the invitation on the kitchen table next to the electricity and gas bills, which I set aside until my pension, and sat for a long time, looking out the window at the maple trees in the yard. I didn't cry, just stared until the tea cooled completely. The wind swayed the still bare branches where sparrows hopped busily. Life went on outside, and I sat in my kitchen, 8 square meters, trying to understand when my son had become a stranger. On the fridge, there was still a photo of 5-year-old Mike against a Christmas tree backdrop. A gap-toothed smile, happy eyes, holding a fire truck he'd begged Santa for, who was me in a glued-on cotton beard. Next to it, magnets from different cities brought back from his college trips. Back then, he still remembered me, bringing these little souvenirs and telling stories over tea with the same pies he loved as a kid. By his early 30s, Mike had become a successful software engineer. Tech guy, as they say now. I struggled to remember his title for a long time, project manager, lead developer. To me, they were just words. The main thing was he bought an apartment in a new building on the outskirts of New York City, living with a view of Central Park while I looked at brick apartment blocks from my old walk-up, for which I was still paying off the loan taken for his education. On the screen of my old phone, there's a photo of that apartment. He sent it when he moved in. 2 bathrooms, a 30-square-meter kitchen living room, smart home system. All of it cost like 5 of my annual salaries. The last time we saw each other was almost 6 months ago. He stopped by for 15 minutes, brought a box of Reese's chocolates, and hastily drank tea. He was rushing to some important meeting, constantly glancing at his watch. Expensive, Swiss, with a leather strap. I tried to tell him about my life then, how our class won the district poetry contest, how I started swimming through a senior program at the community center, how I ran into an old high school friend I hadn't seen in 30 years. He nodded, but I could see his mind was elsewhere. "Mom, let's do it another time, okay? I really have to go." And then even those rare visits stopped. Calls once a month, dry messages on holidays, money transfers on birthdays. "Buy yourself something, Mom," as if buying off the need to be there. I didn't get offended, just accepted it as normal. My son had grown up. He had his own life, his own orbit, where there was no place for me anymore. I'd seen Christine twice, the first time at his birthday when she came without a gift, in a coat that cost like my 3-month salary. Tall, slim, with perfectly styled blonde hair and a manicure matching her purse, she smiled, showing snow-white teeth, but her eyes remained cold, appraising. We sat in a trendy restaurant with fusion cuisine, where portions were so small that afterward I stopped at a Walmart for bread and yogurt to satisfy my hunger. Christine talked about brands, collections, fashion shows, naming names that meant nothing to me. Mike looked at her with such admiration that I felt awkward, as if I'd accidentally glimpsed something intimate. The second time, when they stopped by for 5 minutes on New Year's Eve, I'd prepared for 3 days. Baked pies, made jello salad, pickled mushrooms gathered in the summer at our cabin in Saratoga Springs, cleaned the apartment so the old hardwood floors creaked from cleanliness. I even bought a new tablecloth at IKEA, cream-colored with a subtle pattern. I wanted to create coziness, show that though the apartment was small, it could be nice. She surveyed my 2-bedroom with an expression like she'd accidentally entered a public restroom at a bus station. She wrinkled her nose at the old entertainment center, bought back in the 80s, glanced over the bookshelves with worn volumes of Hemingway and Twain. She didn't even touch the pie, just said, "It's quite unique here." I pretended not to understand, and Mike looked at her with such adoration that it hurt. He used to look at me like that as a kid when I came home from work with a rare Hershey's bar. "Mum, we're not staying long," he said then. "We have 3 more gatherings today." They celebrated New Year's in Miami, in some 7-star hotel. Christine enthusiastically described the spa treatments offered there, the buffet with oysters and lobsters, how they chose the tour. The cheapest cost $5,000. Can you imagine? They had to take the 7,001 for a proper room view. I could imagine. $5,000, that's my salary for half a year. 7, almost for a year. Such sums were from the realm of fantasy for me. When they left, I stood at the window for a long time, watching their new Volkswagen smoothly pull out of the driveway. Then I sat at the table and ate a piece of the pie Christine hadn't touched. It tasted bland, though made from a recipe I'd known since youth. That night after their visit, I pulled out an old photo album with a velvet cover. I flipped through the yellowed pages with glued photos. Here's Mike at 1, sitting in a tub, laughing, splashing water. Here's him at 5, in a bunny costume at a kindergarten play. Here's 10, first day of school, white shirt ironed crisp. Here's graduation. A grown young man with a serious gaze. Between these shots were thousands of days when I woke at 5 a.m. to make breakfast and lunch, do laundry, check homework, then rush to school where other people's kids waited. My husband left when Mike was 4, just packed his things and said it would be better for everyone. Better for him. I realized later when I saw him with a new wife and child at the Golden Mall. He glanced at me and pretended not to recognize me. Child support was irregular, then stopped altogether, lost his job, temporary difficulties. I didn't sue, just took a second shift at school and side gigs, graded notebooks from parallel classes for pennies. There were moments of despair, sitting in the kitchen late at night after grading, not knowing how to pay next month's bills. Reheating the same soup for the 3rd day to save on groceries. Patching Mike's jeans because new ones were unaffordable. But I never showed him that. To him, I was always strong, confident, able to solve any problem. "Mum can do anything," he said as a kid with admiration. Summers we spent at the cabin, 6 acres with a rickety house from my parents. There, Mike ran barefoot on the grass, gorged on berries straight from the bush, and tanned dark. Evenings, we read books by lantern light since electricity often cut out. I told him about stars, distant countries, how the world works. He listened, eyes wide, believing every word. Then I was everything to him. Mum, Dad, best friend. I remember when he got scarlet fever at 7, high fever, rash, sore throat. I didn't leave his bedside for 3 days, applying cold compresses to his forehead, giving him rosehip tea, sleeping on the floor nearby to hear if he cooled at night. When the fever broke, I read him The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, his favorite book. He recovered, his eyes getting livelier, cheeks rosier each day. When he ate a full bowl of soup for the first time after, I cried from relief in the bathroom so he wouldn't see. Then school started with new expenses, uniforms, textbooks, clubs. Mike proved capable, especially in math. The teacher said he had talent, needed development. I enrolled him in a specialized school with a math focus. That meant daily commutes across the city. But I didn't regret the time, tutoring him in English and literature myself. He wasn't as strong there. I remember preparing for a literature test in 6th grade. Had to memorize a poem by Longfellow, Paul Revere's Ride. Mike couldn't remember the long text. We sat until midnight. I made funny associations for each line, drew pictures to help him memorize. Listen, my children, and you shall hear. And a drawing of kids with ears. On the next day, he got an A and ran home happy. Mum, I was the only one who recited without stumbling. By 9th grade, it was clear he needed a tutor for physics and computer science for a good college. I took a bank loan, using the cabin as collateral. I remember my hands shaking as I signed the papers. The sum seemed astronomical, but I believed it was an investment in his future, our future. The bank clerk looked doubtful. Are you sure you can pay this monthly? I was sure. For my son, I'd work round the clock. He got into a prestigious technical university on scholarship. I cried with joy seeing his name on the admitted list. That evening we opened a bottle of cheap sparkling wine, the only one I could afford. Mike hugged me and promised things would get better soon. He'd earn well and buy me a new apartment. College years flew by. He rarely came home. Dorm, part-time jobs, new friends. I didn't mind. Understood he was building his life. Only sometimes, on especially lonely evenings, I'd pull out his childhood drawings and reread handmade cards. To Mommy on Mother's Day, to my favorite mom on her birthday. When it got too sad, I'd watch old videos of school concerts where he recited poems or sang in choir. After graduation, Mike joined a big IT company. Started as a junior programmer, quickly promoted. His salary grew, our meetings rarer. Busy project deadline, he'd explain in short texts. I understood. Grown son, own life. Rejoiced in his successes from afar. Christine entered his life 2 years ago. Met at a conference. She worked in marketing at the same company. She's from a good family, Mike said when he first mentioned her on the phone. I thought then, and I'm from a bad one. But stayed silent, just asked when he'd introduce us. Soon, Mom. Lots of work now. The wedding in a month at the prestigious country club Pine Grove, where regular folks couldn't just walk in. The venue spoke for itself. Everything would be fancy and expensive. Men in designer suits, women with identical faces from beauty salons. I knew I'd be the odd one out, but still wanted to be there for my son on such a day. That evening, I called Mike. He didn't pick up right away, and when he did, irritation was in his voice, as if I'd interrupted something important. Hi, Mom. Got the invite? Yes, thanks. Congratulations. Christine's a beautiful girl. Yeah, thanks. Listen, maybe I can help with organizing. Menu, flowers. I've saved a bit from my pension. His voice hardened. Mom, no need. Everything's paid for. Christine's parents handled it all. Not about money. Just wanted to participate. Everything's chosen, decided. Just come, wear something nice. Don't overdo it. Christine's family is respectable. Without that, you know? He didn't finish, but I understood. Without cheap small-town flair. Without me as I am. Gotta go. Christine's waiting. Bye. He hung up before I could say goodbye. I was left in my kitchen silence. TV was off. Cut cable to save. Only the old GE fridge hummed. Bought back in the day. I stared at the golden letters of the invitation where fine print said, dress code evening black tie optional. My first impulse was to throw the card in the trash, forget the wedding, pretend I never got it. But something inside wouldn't let me give up so easily. Pride, maternal instinct, or just the desire to see my boy marry, even to a girl who looked at me like empty space. I had nothing evening appropriate. My wardrobe was school outfits, dark blue, strict, bought at a discount from Family Fashion. The fanciest was an eggplant-colored dress bought 5 years ago for Mike's college graduation. Then he introduced me to professors, and I felt such pride I nearly burst. Now it seemed pitiful and out of place for such an event. I opened the closet and stared at my things for a long time, then resolutely closed the door. Whatever happens, I'd go to my son's wedding so he wouldn't be ashamed of me. Even if he didn't ask, didn't expect, I was still his mother. Next day, I withdrew all my savings from the bank, a bit under $3,000, saved over years for a rainy day. Apparently, it had come. Then went to the pawn shop and pawned my only valuable, gold earrings with garnets. Grandma's gift. Wear them for luck, she said once. They brought no luck, but gave more money. With that, I headed to the Metropolis Mall, the same one where Mike, as a teen, dreamed of a new phone, staring at windows. Then I couldn't buy him that expensive toy, and he didn't talk to me for a week. Now I went there for a dress for his wedding. I visited all stores, tried dozens of dresses. Saleswomen looked at me with barely hidden disdain. An older woman with calloused hands amid glitter and glamour. In one boutique, the consultant didn't approach until I asked. "We start at 1,500, she said, as if I planned to steal a hanger. But I ignored it. I sought that one dress to look dignified, sorted fabrics, styles, colors, tried on, looked in the mirror, took off. Nothing fit, too youthful, too strict, too cheap-looking, too inappropriately expensive. In the farthest corner of the mall, in a small boutique, I found what I wanted. A deep emerald dress, simple, no extras, but quality fabric, fitting well. It cost almost all my money, but I didn't hesitate. To it, I bought shoes with low, stable heels. Beige, classic. With the last cash, I got a hairstyle at a cheap salon and a manicure. When I got home and tried it all on, I looked at my reflection in surprise. In the mirror stood a stately woman with straight back and proud gaze. Grey in hair didn't spoil, but added nobility. I thought, I'm no worse than others, just from another world. But I'm a woman and a mother. On wedding day, I woke at 5 a.m. Old habit from years of schoolwork. Brewed strong tea, sat by the window. Dawn was breaking, painting the sky soft pink. Birds chirped on the maples in the yard. I thought today my son becomes a husband, and I might soon be a grandma. Life goes on. The circle closes. The dress hung on hangers by the closet, emerald, strict, beautiful. I put it on carefully, like armor before battle. Styled hair as the stylist showed, applied subtle makeup. Looked at the clock. 3 hours to ceremony, but I decided to leave early. Long way ahead. First subway, then bus to the country club. The ride to Pine Grove was tiring. Hour and a half in stuffy subway, then another hour on bus over bumpy highway. May sun baked even through tinted windows. Bus AC didn't work. My carefully styled hair started losing shape. I fidgeted, fixing hair to keep decent. When the bus stopped at the turn to the club, I struggled up from the seat. Legs numb from sitting. 500 yards to main entrance. I walked slowly down the groomed path, heels sinking in gravel. Expensive cars passed. Mercedes, Audis, BMWs. Shiny, groomed like their owners. No one offered a ride to an older woman under scorching sun. Pine Grove Country Club was just as I imagined. Luxurious complex of glass and wood buildings surrounded by manicured park. At entrance, cars parked in row, probably costing several New York City apartments combined. Doormen in uniforms opened doors for guests. A photographer with pro camera captured arrivals. I paused a moment, straightening dress, catching breath. Sneakily pulled a small mirror from purse, checked makeup. Despite heat, I looked decent. Squared shoulders, lifted chin, headed to entrance. At doors stood a young man with tablet, probably wedding coordinator. He gave me an appraising look. "Your name?" he asked with slight smile. "Susan Elizabeth, groom's mother," I replied with dignity. He scanned list, marked something, nodded. "Go in." Ceremony in 40 minutes in Pine Hall, cocktail hour on terrace. I entered and momentarily lost myself in interior splendor. High ceilings with crystal chandeliers, marble floors, mirrored walls, live flowers in huge vases. All breathed wealth and luxury. Everything screamed money I never had. Guests gathered in groups, chatting, laughing. Women in expensive dresses with perfect hair and makeup. Men in tailored suits. I instinctively tugged my dress, felt out of place despite efforts. On terrace, where I went seeking my son, waiters in white gloves carried champagne and appetizers on silver trays. Live orchestra played soft classical music. I took a glass of champagne, more to occupy hands than drink. "You must be Mike's mom," I heard a voice behind. Turning, I saw an elegant woman about 55 in cream designer suit. Hair in complex updo, pearl necklace on neck. "Yes, I'm Susan," I replied, hiding awkwardness. "Helen Nichols, Christine's mother." She extended hand with perfect manicure. "Glad to finally meet. Christine told so much about you." Wonder what exactly, I thought, but aloud said, "Nice to meet you." "You have a wonderful daughter." "Yes, we're proud of her," Helen smiled. "She's so driven. Takes after her father. He achieved everything himself." It sounded like Christine grew up poor and overcame obstacles. Though I knew her dad was some big exec in an oil company, but I stayed silent again. "There's Mike," Helen exclaimed, looking behind me. I turned and saw my son. In elegant dark suit with perfectly styled hair, he looked so solid and adult my heart ached. My boy, my Mikey, now fully grown man, ready to start his family. He stood with friends, animatedly telling something, spotting his mother-in-law, smiled, waved. Then his gaze slid to me, froze a moment, surprise flashed in eyes, then, yes, annoyance. He quickly turned away, pretending not to notice. "Come, I'll introduce you," Helen said, missing the pantomime. We approached the young group. Mike broke off, forced a smile. "Mom, you're here already? Didn't expect you so early." He awkwardly hugged me, as if afraid to wrinkle suit or get dirty. He smelled of expensive cologne and slight unease. "Didn't want to be late," I replied, keeping voice steady. "Beautiful place." "Yeah, Christine's parents did great." He threw grateful look at future mother-in-law. "Won't you introduce me to your friends?" I asked, nodding at group curiously watching. Mike winced, like sudden toothache. "Yeah, sure. Guys, this is my mom. Mom, this is—" He vaguely waved. "My colleagues." No names, no details. As if I were abstract, not real person. Young people politely nodded, immediately resumed interrupted talk, excluding me. "Mike, need to show you seating chart," Helen interjected, saving situation. We changed plan a bit. Son followed with obvious relief, tossing over shoulder. "See you at ceremony, Mom." "Don't be bored." And again I was alone among strangers. Finished champagne, set empty glass on passing waiter's tray, decided to go to hall for ceremony. Pine Hall lived up to name, spacious room with panoramic windows to forest, decorated with live pine branches and white flowers. Rows of chairs with satin ribbons in semicircle before flower arch. There young couple would say vows. At entrance, another coordinator with tablet. "Your name?" "Susan Elizabeth, groom's mother." He checked list. "Your seat first row left of aisle." I was surprised, didn't expect such honor. Usually parents of bride and groom sit front row. Maybe not as bad as I thought. Maybe Mike just nervous before big event, but really wants me near. With that hopeful thought, I took seat, waited for start. Hall filled gradually. Guests chatted, laughed, photographed by Arch. No one approached, sat beside. I felt like island of silence in sea of fun. Finally, solemn music played, all took seats. Mike came to Arch with friend, probably best man. He looked excited, happy. I caught his eye, smiled encouragingly. He nodded back. Short, formal. Wedding march played. Christine walked aisle on father's arm, tall, imposing man with military bearing. Bride dazzling in white dress with long train carried by two little girls in pink dresses. Face veiled, but happiness shone through. Christine's father solemnly handed daughter's hand to Mike. Ceremony began. Officiant spoke of love, fidelity, support. Couple exchanged vows, sincere, touching. Christine even teared up saying hers. Then rings, kiss under applause. I clapped too, swallowing tears. My boy, whom I raised alone, for whom I lived all these years, now belonged to another woman, another family. It was right, natural, but somehow painful. After ceremony, guests invited to banquet hall and oddities began. Approaching seating chart stand, I didn't find my name at main tables. Frowning, studied closer, found myself at table 8, farthest by wall, opposite kitchen doors. Beside me, some distant relatives of Christine, an elderly couple, friends of her parents. No close people, no acquaintances. I felt blush flood face. Coincidence? Or deliberately seated far from action? With heavy heart, went to table. Banquet hall decorated with same grandeur. White tablecloths, crystal glasses, silverware, live flowers in tall vases. Tables semicircle around dance floor, center head table for newlyweds and honored guests. At table 1, Christine's parents with close friends. Table 2, Mike's college friends with spouses. Table 3, young couples colleagues from tech firm. And so on by importance. I was at end of list. At my table, elderly woman with hearing aid already sat. She nodded, but conversation didn't start. She heard poorly, awkward to shout. Other seats empty, their owners still mingling in cocktail area. I sat straight-backed, frozen smile, watched events. Mike and Christine accepted congrats, hugged guests, laughed. He looked so happy, carefree, unlike tense young man who awkwardly hugged me on terrace. Gradually, guests took seats. At my table, 60-ish couple in uncomfortable new outfits joined, and middle-aged woman introducing as Christine's cousin. She spoke first. "You're Mike's mom?" she asked, sipping champagne. "Yes, Susan Elizabeth," I nodded. "Margaret." She extended hand. "Can I sit by you?" "It's too formal here for me." I nodded gratefully. Margaret proved simple, pleasant woman without pretensions or arrogance. Worked as accountant in construction firm, raised 2 kids, cared for sick mother. We chatted, eased me a bit. "You're probably so proud of your son," she said, glancing at head table. "Such successful young man." "Of course," I replied, "he achieved it all himself." That was untrue. Without my sacrifices, support, he couldn't get education, good job, meet Christine. But I didn't say. Today his day, didn't want to spoil with claims. Finally, MC announced banquet start. Waiters served appetizers. First head table, then 1, 2, 3. We sat with empty plates, watching others eat. "They forgot us," Margaret noted, checking watch. 20 minutes passed. I stayed silent, but uneasy feeling grew. Not just seated farthest. Ignored, like invisible. Mike didn't glance my way once, didn't approach. He circled tables, chatted, but never reached ours. I told myself, he's busy, saving me for last. After all, I'm his mother. It'd be special. But time passed, music louder, guests merrier, Mike didn't come. Finally, young waiter approached, looked embarrassed. "Sorry for delay. Kitchen mix-up. Your dish is prepping now." We nodded, but residue remained. Another 20 minutes before appetizers appeared. By then, others finished main course. When hot dish came, I stared surprised at plate. Salmon cold, edges dried, asparagus wilted, pale. Mashed potatoes filmed over, like food sat out long. Clearly leftovers, cooled. "This is outrageous," Margaret whispered, eyeing her portion. "For this money—" "It's fine," I quietly replied, taking fork. I was used to it. And it was true, used to getting last, content with remnants, remnants of son's attention, respect, joy. Learned not to complain, demand, be grateful for scraps. I mechanically chewed cold fish when heard son's voice, loud, not lowering tone. Stood near our table, arm around Christine's waist, looking my way. "Look, they finally brought her food," he said, smirking, "and she's not complaining. She's used to eating what's left from others. It's normal for her." Christine laughed lightly, carefree. Friends giggled behind, someone covered mouth, but laughter broke through. Laughter at my humiliation rippled hall like water circles. I froze with fork in hand, didn't tremble, cry, even look his way. Just listened. Then quietly said, "Turns out, I don't just eat remnants. I live on them." Margaret looked shocked. "He seriously said that?" "Apparently, yes," I replied. And in that moment, something inside me snapped finally. Mike returned to head table, started solemn speech. Thanked Christine's parents, her friends, organizers, waiters, even DJ. Not a word about me, as if I didn't exist, as if he appeared on his own, without a mother. I watched my son, handsome, confident, successful. He smiled, spoke smoothly, gestured. Happy, and no place for me in his happiness. When Hall applauded, I realized something changed inside. Not broke, shattered, just went out. Like a bulb at end of life. Dances started. First dance of newlyweds. Beautiful waltz to Elton John's song. They twirled Hall, eyes locked like no one else existed. Guests filmed on phones, some wiped tears of emotion. Then bride's dance with father, stately man with military bearing, twirled daughter to a classic father-daughter song. Then groom's dance with bride's mother. Helen glided to floor, graceful like ballerina despite age. Mike gallantly offered hand, they spun to slow tune. I sat at far table, clutching napkin. Waited for turn, for son to approach, extend hand, invite to dance. I'd even mentally picked song. My Boy by a heartfelt singer I often listened to alone. I'd rehearsed at home before mirror not to stumble, not embarrass him. But Mike didn't come. After dance with mother-in-law, returned to Christine, accepted congrats, hugged guests, laughed. Didn't even look at me, like forgot I existed. I sat with empty plate before me, in dress chosen with hope, shoes rubbing heels to blisters, hairdo falling from heat. Sat realizing, not accident, coincidence, misunderstanding, conscious choice of my son, to exclude me from his life, celebration, happiness. Then I felt not anger, offense, but strange calm, like something long tormenting released. Inside became quiet, that special silence when you stop waiting, hoping. "You okay?" Margaret asked, concerned. "Perfectly fine," I calmly replied. And it was true. I stood, neatly straightened dress, took purse, headed to exit. No one noticed my leaving, no one called, stopped. Especially not Mike. In coat check, got my light coat. Young attendant, seeing evening dress, surprised. "Leaving already?" "Cake not cut yet." "Yes, time for me," I replied with light smile. "But it's only 9. She checked clock and I'd seen all I wanted. I threw on coat, stepped into May evening. Outside quiet, cool. After stuffy hall, fresh air scented with pines seemed especially sweet. I inhaled deeply, slowly strolled path to bus stop. Behind, noise, music, fun, laughter. Ahead, silence, solitude, freedom. Suddenly called, "Susan Elizabeth, wait." Margaret, breathless, caught up. "Leaving without goodbye?" "He won't notice." I turned, looked through glass doors at bright party inside. Mike at bar, laughing with friends, raising champagne glass. Free, cheerful, light. Without me, my care, my love. "He's better without me," I quietly said. "It's right. I'm sorry it turned out this way." Margaret shook head. "How he treated you." "Don't be sorry. Today everything finally fell into place. I saw truth, now can live on." We said goodbye, I continued to stop. Without music, celebration, sun, but with one clear thought. Tonight I'd write a letter, most important in my life. Home was quiet, dark. I removed shoes, relieved feeling cool floor under tired feet. Carefully took off dress like something foreign, unneeded, hung in closet. Changed to home clothes, turned on kitchen desk lamp, sat at table. Didn't brew tea, turn on TV, just opened laptop. Old worn keyboard, bought 5 years ago on sale. Opened email, started new message. Recipient, Michael. First sat staring blank screen, no words, no start. Then, as from soul's depth, lines flowed. "Mike, I write not in offense, not anger, with understanding, acceptance. Thanks for setting everything straight at your wedding. Not hints, half-tones, but direct, honest. You showed my place in your life. You said I'm used to eating leftovers. And you're right, I am used to remnants of your attention, time, gratitude, content with crumbs of your love, doled out sparingly, not to offend but not let too close. You always knew I'd be there, endure, understand, forgive. Never thought I could leave, but I am. Not with scandal, hysterics, but calmly, forever. From today, I stop any financial support, monthly transfers to your account, not grandma's inheritance as you thought. My overtime, savings, skipped meds, undone repairs. I cancel insurance policy where you're beneficiary. Revoke power of attorney on credit card you used in emergencies, including turkey vacation and wedding flowers. And Maine, selling apartment, one you already considered yours, planned to rent after my death. Thought I'd leave it by birthright. But being my son doesn't mean entrusted with memory, walls, pain. This apartment mine. Kept it paying loan all years, sat sleepless nights when you were sick. Met every new year after Dad left alone with cheap champagne glass and your childhood photo on table. Washed floors, painted ceilings, fixed faucet myself. Now selling because I want to live, not wait. You often asked why I didn't remarry after Dad. Because busy. Building your life, sacrificing mine. Thought if gave all, you'd love me not for role, as person. I was wrong. You got used to taking, not noticing. Used to mom as background, service staff always on call. Now no more. Not threat, manipulation, information. You're grown man, have wife, status, career. Now life yours fully with bills, loans, obligations. And I'm mine. With trips always postponed, breakfasts on cafe patios, books unread, silence without pain. You'll remain my son by blood, but no longer my bank, shoulder, shadow, background, mom, or better just Susan. I reread 3 times, no scream, complaint, request to call. Just truth, plain, emotionless, expectation-free. Deep night, hit send. Letter went with soft sound, like piano keys in empty hall, silence followed. Closed laptop, approached window. Night city twinkled lights, distant cars hummed. I watched stars barely visible through urban glow, felt strange relief like dropping heavy backpack carried decades. Morning, called real estate agency, your home, scheduled meeting. Then school, took unpaid leave. First in years, pulled old US map bought in 90s, marked cities never visited. Boston, Philadelphia, Richmond, Charleston. So many places postponed for later, retirement someday. Thought circled, no more living on remnants, Maine begins. Realtor attentive, polite. Great neighborhood, he said. Cabin, infrastructure nearby. Lake 2 stops away. You'll get good money. I nodded silently. Didn't tell how scrubbed floors at 2 a.m. when Mike first left home. Didn't tell slept on kitchen floor because fever in kids' room, scared to leave. Apartment remembered all, I decided to forget. What price to set? Realtor asked, pulling calculator. Market, I replied. Want quick sale. Week later, first viewings. 2 weeks, 3 offers. Chose full cash, no mortgage, installments. Buyers, young couple with 5-year-old, reminded me of us with Mike and his dad starting out. Only theirs seemed different. Husband looked tenderly at wife. She laughed, tossing son to ceiling. Deal sum, almost $60,000, seemed cosmic. Never held such money, but didn't scare because first time, no plan to spend on others. Deal day, came to office, signed papers, got bank statement. Stepping out, no regret, fear, only lightness. Like releasing long-held grip. On way home, stopped at travel agency, bought ticket to Lake Michigan. Single room, excursion program, round-trip flights. Long dream, always postponed. Back in apartment, not mine anymore, month to move per contract. Started sorting, sell some, give away, toss. Didn't need much, just essentials, few mementos. Among old albums, documents, found envelope with Mike's childhood drawings, smiling sun, house with smoking chimney, cat with huge eyes, always 2 figures holding hands. Big and small, mom and son. Looked long, then resolutely put in give-away pile. Now just paper with colors, not treasures stored years. Phone silent, no calls, messages from Mike. Per messenger status, he read letter. Blue checks morning, but no reply. No outrage, apologies, persuasion. Just silence. Thought that was end. Silence forever. But 2 weeks later, doorbell. On threshold Christine, impeccable as always. Cashmere coat, perfect cut, thin white gold earrings, subtle makeup. Only gaze not haughty as before, rather confused. Good evening, Susan Elizabeth, she said. May I come in? We need to talk. We, I echoed. Or you? She flustered but entered when I stepped aside, looked around not with contempt as before, but exploratory interest. "I'll make tea," I said, "only instant." Everything simple now. She sat at kitchen table, hands folded on knees like good student. I set cup before her, sat opposite. "I didn't know how dependent Mike was on you," she started bluntly. He didn't realize either. Used to things resolving themselves, money there, mother there. If needed, gives. If not, doesn't interfere. I stayed silent, not helping tough talk. "I thought he had his own savings," she continued. He said, she faltered, that his parents were well off. "And really only me," I finished. "And not well off, just giving last." Awkward pause. Christine stared into cup, hoping find words. "It's hard for us now," she admitted. "Moved from rental, living with my parents, working 2 projects. Mike, he's stressed." "And I'm involved how?" I calmly asked. "You're his mother." "I was his mother. Now just woman wanting live for herself." Christine looked attentively, like seeing first time. "What if he apologizes?" she asked. "If truly repents?" "Too late." "Then what do you want?" I stood, put cup in sink. "Nothing. That's point. Want nothing more from him. No apologies, explanations, gratitude. Not offended, Christine. Free." She tensed, lips thin line. "You're avenging him because your life didn't work out." "No," I shook head. "Just stopped gifting my life to others. Even him." After Christine left, finished packing, sorted rest, boxed suitcases, 2 large, 1 small. Folded documents separate. From old life, took few books, parents' photo, mom's brooch, notebook kept last 5 years. Rest sold via classifieds, gave neighbors, left for new owners. Old furniture, dishes, appliances, all unneeded ballast gladly shed. "Susan Elizabeth, where you off to?" asked neighbor Linda Smith, taking bedding set and old but working mixer. "At retirement age, think of rest, not uprooting." "I've thought of rest whole life, Linda," I replied. "Time think of life." Last evening in old apartment, sat on windowsill, gazing familiar yard. Playground where little Mike once played. Bench where neighbors discussed school issues. Maples planted when building built in 70s. All so familiar, yet alien. No regret, nostalgia, just calm resolve start new chapter. I was 58, ahead maybe 20, 30 years. Didn't want spend morning past or clinging unfulfilled hopes. Morning, taxi came. Last glance apartment, empty, clean, ready new residence. Locked door, left keys in mailbox for realtor, without looking back, got in car. Grand Central Station, I told driver. On way, past school, worked 35 years. Recess on. Kids spilled yard, played, ran, laughed. My students gone among them. Long grown, many parents themselves. But each year met new first graders. Taught read, write, count, be kind, fair. Saw off after 4 years to middle school, meet new kids. Submitted resignation 2 weeks before leaving. Principal Sarah Miller long refused accept. Susan Elizabeth, why? "You're our best elementary teacher. 2 years to retirement. Stay, we'll add longevity bonus." But I adamant, 35 years gave others kids, missing own. No more live for others. Station noisy, crowded, bought ticket to Albany. Quiet provincial town with beautiful historic center, unhurried life. Why there? Visited as child at grandma's, remembered as place-time flows different. Not rushing, letting notice beauty. Plus cheap rent, chance find calm job. Didn't want spend all apartment money. Most on deposit, live on interest. But idle not in plans. Train left in hour. Bought coffee cup, cinnamon bun at cafe. Small pleasure rarely allowed, saving every penny. Now could afford, not richer, but stopped guilt for every dollar on self. Sitting by window in station cafe, watched hurrying people. Rushing somewhere, seeing off or meeting, parting or reuniting. Life boiled around, now not observer, part of it. Pocket buzzed, pulled phone, new number unknown, hesitated, answered, "Hello?" "Mom?" Mike's voice confused, doubting right place. "Yes, it's me," calmly replied. "You? Where are you? Came to your apartment, strangers there. Say moved in yesterday." Sipped coffee before answering. Sold apartment as wrote in letter. But where'd you go? Where now? Panic in voice, not worry for me, panic. Like ground slipping, familiar world crumbling. I'm safe, don't worry. Mom, stop games, raised tone. Give address, I'll come. Why? What why? You're my mother, we must talk. We already said everything. You at wedding, me in letter. Mum, I was wrong. Said stupid thing, but can't cross 30 years over one phrase. We're family. Watched departing train, not mine, left in 40 minutes. Family, not just blood, Mike. Also respect, care, attention. Haven't seen from you years. I was busy. Work, career, personal life. I had life too. Chose you, you chose self. He silent, heard heavy breathing. Mum, let's meet, talk. I'll apologize, discuss. You'll come back. Where? Interrupted. Apartment gone, nowhere, no reason return. You can live with us, he offered uncertainly. Big apartment, give you room. Nearly laughed. After all, after wedding humiliation, offers me live-in at their house with Christine. Thanks, but found where live. Where? Tell me. No, Mike. Now my life. You, yours. Better for both. Mom, don't abandon me. Voice whiny like childhood fearing thunder or dark. Bad without you. Before words break heart, I'd rush, console, help, give last. Now saw unnoticed before, manipulation. Didn't miss when good, remembered when bad. You have wife, Mike. Father-in-law, mother-in-law, not poor. Friends, colleagues, you'll manage. But money. Stumbled, realized, said extra. Ah, that. Shook head, though unseen. Need not me, my money. Know what? Just, we're in a tough spot. Loans, mortgage on car, wedding debts. Closed eyes. How many times bailed him out tough spots? Gave last, just for him good. And gratitude. She's used to eating what's left. Time, Mike. Train soon. Train? Where? Mom, don't hang up, please. But pressed end, turned off phone, put in bag, finished cooled coffee. Strangely, no pain, regret, only certainty right. When boarding announced, calmly stood, took suitcases, went to platform. In compartment besides me, elderly couple, friendly, intellectual, returning from kids' visit. We chatted, they listened interested to new life plans. You're so brave, said woman, introducing as Gail Parker. At our age, decide move, start clean slate. I couldn't. Sometimes no choice, I replied, or choice always, but continue old way unbearable. Arrived Albany toward evening. City met quiet streets, golden lantern light, cool wind from Hudson. Took taxi to address found via rental site back in New York. Apartment small but cozy, one bedroom, river view, old brick building, high ceilings. Landlady woman my age, met personally, showed everything. You here long? Inquired, handing keys. Don't know, honestly. Live, look around, maybe stay forever. Albany good town, she nodded, quiet, calm. For soul. First night new home slept soundly, dreamless. Morning woke sunlight through uncurtained window. In New York never woke like, always heavy curtains block street noise, light. Birds sang outside, approached, opened sash, inhaled fresh air deeply. Below flowed Hudson, wide, calm, majestic. On embankment people walked, some with dogs, some enjoying morning. Brewed tea in new kettle bought yesterday at supermarket en route from station, sat by window. In purse printed city map, list places visit, museums, parks, theaters, libraries. Whole new life waiting. Phone still off, didn't want Mike's voice disturb morning peace. Maybe tomorrow or day after. Or buy new SIM, start clean. After breakfast, went city walk. Albany as remembered childhood with grandma. Cozy, wide streets, historic buildings, plenty green. Wandered aimless, enjoying freedom, no hurry. In small bookstore Central Street, lingered, browsed books, inhaled print smell, flipped magazines. Saleswoman, 60-ish with kind face, watched smiling. Not local, right? Asked when approached register with 2 books. How guessed? Surprised. Eyes different. Shrugged. Newcomers always curious, appraising gaze, especially from big cities. We chatted. Name Rita, owned little shop 15 years since retirement. Job simple, said wrapping purchases. Books sell slower than before, but life enough. Main talk. People come not just books, talk. Told seeking work, not money, for activity, new acquaintances. You a teacher? Asked suddenly. How no? Surprised again. Hands, smiled Rita. Elementary teachers always hands with ink stains ingrained forever, special index finger shape from pens. Observant, indeed couldn't remove ink stains despite modern cleaners. No, need assistant, Rita said, thinking. Not getting younger. Eyes fail, back hurts long standing, if interested could work here. Flexible schedule. Small pay, but for soul perfect. Didn't think twice. Gladly, so began New Life Albany. Mornings woke dawn, breakfasted balcony Riverview. Went bookstore 4 to 5 hours. Rest day walked city, sat cafe with book, or watched people embankment. Evenings often small theatre near home. Showed classics, modern plays. Or movies alone, no need coordinate or adjust others' plans. Weekends explored surroundings. Plenty beautiful spots Albany area. Went to Saratoga, Cooperstown, Hudson Valley, photographed old churches, picturesque ruins, endless fields. Not for anyone, for self. Started journal. Wrote thoughts, impressions, plans. Sometimes drew unskilled but enjoyable. Rita, seeing sketches, suggested handmade cards for store. Surprisingly popular tourists. Gradually acquaintances, even friends. Building neighbor, bookstore regular, theater ticket lady. Not close, but people chat with, have tea, discuss new book or play. Turned phone on week later. 15 missed from Mike, 7 Christine, 3 her mother, dozens messages, pleading to accusing. Mum, where? Worried. Irresponsible disappear. If no answer, police. Don't understand hurting me. Wrong, admit. Talk like adults. Last yesterday. Mum understood all. If reading, no love, miss. If want return, our home doors always open. Mike. Reread several times. No apologies, error admission, attempt understand feelings. Just offer return his terms, his home, his life. Again background, decoration, convenient add-on. Didn't reply, deleted all, blocked numbers. Not revenge, offense, just need protect new fragile happiness. Summer Albany warm, sunny. Life flowed measured, like Hudson Water's window. Used new rhythm, no rush, no constant tomorrow worry, no need prove constantly. In bookstore, regular customers. Came not just books, talk. Elderly history professor, local university, young mum twins, school kids for required reading. New names, remembered preferences, tastes. Rita, store owner, first real friend Albany. Lived alone. Husband died 10 years ago, kids scattered cities. But not lonely, inspired me. No, Sue, said over tea backroom after close. Loneliness, not no people around, when can't be self even alone. Understood. Whole life someone others. Daughter, wife, mother, teacher. Forgot self. Now rediscovering woman mirror, grey hair, eye wrinkles, calm gaze, unexpectedly light smile. Once, unpacking new arrivals, found book handmade notebooks. Leafed curiously. Beautiful photos, detailed instructions, style samples. Something inside responded. Buy, Rita said, noticing interest. Good for new hobby. At my age, smirked. Bit late start. Nonsense, waved off. Neighbor 73 took Spanish courses, reads Marquez original, never late do want. Bought book. Materials art store. Evenings balcony Riverview, experimented paper, fabric, leather. First notebooks clumsy, but each time mastered techniques, invented patterns, combinations. By summer end, whole collection. Notebooks, sizes, formats, fabric, leather, paper covers, embedded dried flowers, bookmarks, pockets, trinkets. This real art, Rita admired when brought samples show. Put soul each, let's display store, sure buyers. So corner bookstore small showcase my works, surprisingly sold. First slow one 2 week, then faster. especially tourists' unusual souvenirs. You talented, Rita said. You invest soul every item. Didn't know talent, but work materials brought true joy. Those moments thought no past, future, only match colors, arrange elements, create beautiful functional. September, days shorter, first yellow leaves trees, got strange letter. Paper, not email, plain envelope mailbox entrance, no stamps postmarks. Delivered personally. Inside child drawing, two figures house background, girl woman. Signature crooked letters, my grandma. And note child hand, hello name Vicky, few years. Dad said you're my grandma but never seen. Mom says live far, can write you. Already right, though errors. Have kitten Fluffy, love draw, want meat. Vicky. Reread several times, unbelieving. Vicky, granddaughter. Mike has daughter, didn't know. Slowly sat, knees weak. So born before Mike Christine wedding. Why hide existence? Why not tell I'm grandma? Thoughts whirled. Christine didn't look woman-bore child 7 years ago, no kids wedding. I'd notice, maybe Mike's daughter another woman or adopted. Anyway, girl knew me, wrote despite adults not eager introduce. This small independence act touched deeply, sat long drawing hands, unsure. One hand, didn't want back past, let Mike life again. Other, granddaughter innocent our relation's son. Finally took paper sheet, wrote simple words, no complex explanations. Hello, Vicky. Thanks letter, wonderful drawing. Yes, your grandma. Though never met. Very sad. Hope someday meet person. Live Albany, big Hudson Riverbank. Beautiful here, especially fall, leaves trees golden. Work bookstore, make notebooks hands. Tell more self, what like besides drawing, what school? What color kitten Fluffy? Love Grandma Sue. Sealed envelope, next day post, sent return address Moscow but wait, adapted to American New York address, but not Mike Christine's, another unfamiliar. Week later, reply. Again, plain envelope, no stamps, dropped box. Inside another drawing, kitten huge eyes, fluffy tail, letter same child handwriting. Hello, Grandma Sue. Very glad replied. Afraid wouldn't want talk, Dad said angry. Go first grade school. Best friend Sophie. Sit same desk. Love draw, read animal books, play computer games. But Mom allows our day. Fluffy grey white paws chest, very naughty scratches wallpaper, but best. Also bake cookies, Mom. Maybe someday bake you. Mom says meet if want. Very want see you, Hudson. Never Albany. Kisses, Vicky. Attached photo. Little girl, light hair, serious eyes holding grey kitten. Smile Mike's. Same dimple left cheek, slightly upturned lip corners. Something mine elusive. Maybe brow shape or eye expression. Couldn't look away photo. My blood granddaughter, unaware existence years. Small person innocent, once know me. Evening couldn't sleep long. Thought Vicky, Mike, how strangely turned. Why hide daughter? Why Christine now offers meeting? What changed? Morning decided direct. Instead send Vicky, wrote short note her mother. Christine thanks Vicky letters. Glad have granddaughter, like meet. But first need understand why Mike hid existence years. If ready honest talk, me too. My phone number, call anytime, respect Susan. Reply same day, call unknown number. Hello Susan Elizabeth? Irene, Vicky's mom. Froze. Not Christine. Who Irene? Hello, cautiously. Mike's first wife. No, voice awkward. Never married. We dated before met Christine. Slowly sat. Another unknown page son's life. Vicky Mike's daughter, continued Irene, biological. DNA test confirmed, but never acknowledged officially. Not on birth certificate, no child support. Didn't know, only could say. Thought so, sighed Irene. Mike hid us carefully, even starting Christine. Asked no calls, texts, said very jealous. Thoughts tangled. Mike father abandoned child. My son taught responsibility care. Why contact now, asked. Vicky, simply. Accidentally saw Mike's photo my album, asked questions. Didn't lie, said father, lives separate. Then asked grandma, has grandma dad's side? Irene paused, continued, found you common acquaintances. Learned moved Albany after conflict Mike. Didn't want interfere, but Vicky fired up idea, write you. Glad she wrote, sincerely, want meet. But no secrets, omissions. Mike no contacted? No, firmly. Prefer he not know, least yet. Our relations, complicated. Sees Vicky every month, brings gifts, plays Sunday dad, then disappears weeks. Cries each time. Closed eyes, bitterness rising. That's my son, not just neglected mother, abandoned own child. When meet? Asked. Can come New York. Maybe we Vicky come you, suggested Irene. Long wanted out city. You show Albany, Hudson. Impressed your story. Agreed meet 2 weeks, mid-October, Vicky full break. Irene promised bring 3 days. Enough acquaint, not long tire older woman obviously seemed her. After talk, sat long window Hudson. Life kept surprises. Granddaughter, 7-year-old girl, Mike's smile, possibly my eyes. Didn't know outcome, no plans, unrealistic hopes, but first long time felt joyful anticipation. Not anxiety, fear, joyful expectation. Evening pulled notebook tools, started special one. Soft pink fabric cover, thick drawing paper pages, ribbon bookmark, small silver kitten end. Found souvenir shop embankment. First page wrote, for Vicky, my beloved granddaughter. Next 2 weeks prepared guests. Bought fold-out sofa living room. Before, managed 1 bed. No guests, stocked food including kid likes, fruits, juices, cookies, ice cream. Made city tour plan considering October cool. Rita, noticing excited state, asked reason. Guests coming, confessed. Granddaughter never seen, her mom. Granddaughter? Surprised Rita. Never said grandkids. Learned recently, told whole story. Rita shook head. Your son no gift, but girl innocent. Good ready give chance know you. Arrival day Vicky Irene, nervous like teen first date, changed outfit several times, rearranged apartment, checked forgot by. Arrived train 2 p.m., left home early, bought autumn flowers bouquet market, chrysanthemums, asters, orange burgundy shades. Then stood long platform, peering exiting passengers' faces. And there small light-haired girl red jacket, holding young woman hand tired but kind face. Looking around, seeking someone. Me. Deep breath, step toward. Vicky? Irene? I'm Susan, your grandma. Vicky looked big serious eyes, so like little Mike's, breath caught. Didn't rush hug, didn't yell grandma, just stood, tight mother's hand, studied face. Hello, finally quiet voice, imagined different. How? Smiled, extending bouquet. Thought very old, with cane and scarf. Accepted flowers, suddenly smiled. But you're pretty. Irene shook hand, embarrassed. Sorry her, always says thinks. Wonderful, sincerely. Let's home. Probably tired road. Took taxi. Girl whole way window, commenting scene. Look, beautiful church. What monument? Mom, yellow trams, not red like ours. Her spontaneity, curiosity charmed. Home showed room stay 3 days. Vicky jumped sofa, testing bounce. Ran window, admiring Hudson view. So wide, wider East River. Can go down it? Of course, nodded. Tomorrow walk embankment over tea pies. Bought best bakery town. Never learned cook. Vicky settled bit, started life, school, friends, fluffy left neighbor. You know cat? Asked, surveying apartment. No, shook head, didn't happen. Want draw fluffy. Like real, pulled album rucksack, colored pencils, concentrated drew, tongue-tip effort. Just like Mike childhood. Watched, heart-filled warmth. When Vicky explored balcony, Irene quietly, worried whole way, afraid wouldn't love. How not love? Surprised. Wonderful child. Suffers Mike's attitude, sighed Irene. Kids feel all. However explain absence work, trips, understands father not very interested. Stayed silent. What say? Excuse son. But victim his callousness. Condemn. Still her father, my son, complicated relations. How met Mike, cautiously. Worked same company, Irene smiled memories. Junior analyst, already group lead. Handsome, confident, successful. Romance spun, pregnant. Thought happy but he paused but understood. Mike not happy. Not want responsibility, as not for me, mother, successful. Offered money abortion, continued Irene. Refused, threatened fire. Had leave self. Then Vicky born, sued support. Hired good lawyer, dragged process. End offered compromise. Monthly payments exchange no demand official paternity, no tell family colleagues. Agreed? Couldn't hide surprise. No choice, shrugged Irene. A lone child, no job, no parent support. His money let survive. Felt ashamed. While thought sacrificing all son, grew man abandon own child, pay mother's silence. Recently payments stopped, continued Irene. Mike said financial troubles, wait. Third month waiting. Wouldn't bother, but Vicky fired meet grandma. Did right, firmly. Vicky my granddaughter, glad now no. As for money, can help. Irene blushed. No, no, not why came. Cope found second job, just wanted no truth. Nodded respectfully. Young woman raising child alone, clearly had character strength. Dignity my son lacked. Next day spent getting no. Showed Vicky Irene Albany. Old churches, local history museum, Hudson embankment, just leaf fall starting. Vicky collected bright leaves, made bouquets wreaths, posed photos river background. Joy, delight contagious. Evening's kitchen, drank tea brought Irene homemade waffles. Excellent cook talked. Vicky showed drawings, told school, first successes difficulties. Listened, asked questions, gave advice asked. Last evening, Vicky asleep, Irene I sat balcony, gazing night Hudson glistening lanterns. Thanks, quietly said. Vicky thrilled trip, long not seen happy. You thanks, replied dead contact. Raising wonderful girl. Silent each thoughts. Not like Mike, finally Irene. Always calculating, thinks self. You? Was different raising, sighed. Maybe too caring, sacrificial. Spoiled. Don't blame self, Irene shook head. Each chooses person B. Sometimes think spoil Vicky too, grows selfish. Then see shares candies neighbor kids, cares fluffy, understand. Fine. Morning acted direct. Wait. Morning decided act directly. Instead of sending a letter to Vicky, I wrote a short note to her mother. Irene, thanks for the letters from Vicky. I'm glad I have a granddaughter and would like to meet her, but first I need to understand why Mike hid her existence all these years. If you're ready for an honest conversation, so am I. My phone number, call any time. With respect, Susan. The answer came that same day, a call from an unknown number. Hello, Susan Elizabeth. This is Irene, Vicky's mom. I froze. Irene. Hello, I said cautiously. Yes, that's me. We talked for a long time. Irene told me the whole story, how she and Mike had dated briefly, how she got pregnant, how he refused to acknowledge the child but agreed to informal support to keep it quiet, how Vicky grew up without a father figure until recently, when he started showing up more after our confrontation. I was shocked but also relieved to finally know the truth. We agreed that Vicky and Irene would visit me in Albany during the school break. The visit was wonderful. Vicky was a bundle of energy and curiosity, just like Mike had been at her age. We walked along the Hudson, visited local parks, and even made notebooks together in my little workshop. Irene and I bonded over shared experiences of raising children alone. After they left, life in Albany continued, but now with regular letters and calls from Vicky. Mike reached out again, and this time his tone was different. More humble, more reflective. He admitted his mistakes, not just to me, but in how he'd treated Vicky and Irene. Over time, he started changing. He divorced Christine, moved closer to Irene and Vicky, and began being a real father. Our relationship mended slowly, not back to what it was, but to something healthier, based on mutual respect. Now, a year later, I have a thriving little business making handmade notebooks in Rita's store, a close bond with my granddaughter, and occasional visits from Mike. Life isn't perfect, but it's mine, and it's full. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Your support inspires us to delight you daily with new captivating tales. On the main screen, you can already find our next story. We wish you all the best and happiness in life.